we discussed something really, really important. We usually, as you know here, friends of the Relearn program, we usually talk about renewable energy, but there is something even more important than renewable energy, and that it would be energy efficiency. If energy efficiency measures were to be fully taken up and used, they could make a huge dramatic difference to the world that we live in, as you know. Today we're discussing how you can take advantage of these energy efficiency savings today so that your buildings work a lot better and save you a lot of money. And with us today I have, I think, the best possible team of speakers, experts that have worked on this for a long time and have a lot of experience, and they're going to be telling us about their experiences working now in the market in Dubai. And I'd like to ask them to introduce themselves before we actually start. So first I'd like to ask Graham from RSB Dubai to introduce yourself. Please, Graham.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to this webinar, which we've organized with the help of Atto Insights and with Etihad Energy Services. I'm looking forward to a really interesting discussion over the next hour and a half.
Thank you very much, Graham. And I think RSB Dubai is actually leading the way and have a lot to tell us today. And as Graham says, we've organized this webinar together, collaborating. Next, I'd like to ask Pradeep Singh from Etihad ESCO. Please, Pradeep, can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, hello everyone. This is Pradeep. I'm from Etihad ESCO. I'm looking at the business development and technical part of Etihad ESCO. We are working very closely with RSP Dubai, and we are here in working just to meet the target of the demand side management target set by the Supreme Council of Energy, that is 30% by 2030. And on this way, we are doing a lot of ESCO projects in Dubai. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pradeep. I'd like to ask now Marcus from Siemens to introduce yourself, please, Marcus.
Hi, yes, my name is Markus Strohmeier. I'm heading the Siemens building technology activities here in the Middle East. And as you know, Siemens is a supplier for electrical systems, automation, building technology, and also the Internet of Things platform called MindSphere. So we are end-to-end supplier. We are also very active and have a lot of reference projects here in the UAE for energy savings and sustainability. I look forward to your questions later on.
Thank you very much, Marcus. Okay, next we have Olaf from Signify. Can I get an introduction from you, Olaf, please?
Yeah, sure. Nice to be here in this webinar. My name is Olaf Schot. I work for Signify. We used to be called Philips Lighting, and we changed our name this year. We have a 130-year experience in lighting. And especially since the introduction of LED technology, we have also worked a lot on energy saving and how to do that with lighting. So I'll be sharing some information on that.
Thank you very much, Olaf. And last but certainly not least, I'd like to ask Bazet from Dubai Airport to also give an introduction.
Yep, my name is Abdul Basat. I work for Dubai Airport Energy Management Team. I'm a project manager. We're actually here, and I'm really pleased to be with you guys today. Today we're going to talk about energy saving and some of the project that Dubai Airport actually doing in terms of saving and energy efficiency. Thank you.
Excellent. This is good to hear. It's very good to hear. I think that is absolutely clear to me that I think the UAE and Dubai in particular is leading the way in terms of building energy efficiency. So I can't wait to hear your presentations. First, we're going to have Graham present. So Graham, if I can ask you to share your screen and get ready. And once Graham gets ready, I'd like to just let you guys know that we are recording this session. You will have access to the presentations. Everything will be sent to you, so you don't have to worry about that. And also to let you know that there is a Q&A box at the bottom. We expect a lot of questions. You know, we have 5 experts here today that are each to answer all your questions. And there is a lot of people from other markets here as well that I think have a lot to learn from Dubai, as is one of the leaders in the region. Graham, are you ready for us? Do you want to go ahead?
I think I am. You can see the screen, I hope.
Excellent. We can see the screen and we can hear you perfectly, so go ahead.
Okay, thanks very much. So for those of you who aren't familiar with the RSB, either because you're from outside Dubai or indeed you're from Dubai but haven't heard of us, we're the Emirates energy regulator, and one of our roles is to manage the regulatory framework here in Dubai for energy service companies, which we introduced in 2014. The background to that, there we go, as Pradeep has already alluded to, is that Dubai has a demand-side management strategy, which is looking to raise energy efficiency here by 30% by 2030. Those savings and that improvement in efficiency is to be delivered across the 8 programs you can see on the slide. And the one we're here to discuss today is the Building Retrofit Program. That's expected to produce savings by 2030 of 1.7 terawatt hours annually and 5.6 billion imperial gallons of water, saving around 1 million tons of CO2 emissions. And we think in order to deliver that target, we'll need to retrofit something like 30,000 buildings across Dubai by 2030. When we looked at the ESCO market in Dubai, and we did a lot of research talking to market participants, we found that there were a number of barriers getting in the way of the effective development of that market. There was, in some cases, a lack of trust between the supplier, the ESCO, and customers, a feeling perhaps on the part of customers that energy efficiency could, was sometimes oversold. Contracts tended to be quite complex given the nature of the service being provided, and often weren't really fair between ESCO and customer. If they weren't fair to the ESCO, then ESCOs wouldn't be interested in providing the service, and if they weren't fair to the customer, then customers wouldn't be interested in procuring the service. There was a bit of confusion about how savings would be measured and verified. That's a very important element of energy performance contracting. And all of these things tended to lead to some difficulties in financing projects. And those projects that did go ahead would sometimes end up in dispute over quite technical matters. So we attempted to address each of those barriers through the regulatory framework we put in place. So in terms of trust and giving people confidence they could partner with an energy service company, we developed an accreditation scheme for ESCOs in order to ensure that contracts were ones that both parties could work with. We developed standardized contracts, which were intended to provide the right sort of allocation of risk between the parties. We developed a tailored measurement and verification protocol for Dubai with examples so people can understand how savings should be measured and verified. And we put in place a variety of dispute resolution processes, including for technical disputes, that those could be brought to the RSB if both parties agreed to do so. The scheme's been in operation since 2014. As of today, we have 19 energy service companies accredited in Dubai. We have 2 forms of accreditation, what we call full accreditation and provisional accreditation. The only difference between the two is that to be fully accredited, a company has to demonstrate that it already has a track record of delivering energy performance contracts in Dubai. So you can see that we have some really quite large, including large international entities, which are only provisionally accredited. And that's because they're either new to the ESCO market, or even if they're in the ESCO market, they haven't yet carried out projects in Dubai. And of the 5 fully accredited ESCOs that we have, I'm very pleased that 2 of them are going to be speaking to you later about their project experience. So how has the market developed over the last 3 or 4 years? We collect data from ESCOs every year. That's one of the conditions of being accredited, is that they provide us with quite a lot of information on their projects. And that gives us, I think, a unique insight into how the market develops. So from the most recent year for which we collected data, which is 2017, in that year there were 57 new projects started, or there were substantial new phases of existing projects. That brought the total number of projects which have been delivered under the scheme to 135. Something like 500 buildings were addressed by those new projects, bringing the total number of buildings addressed to 2,500. The majority of those are villas, but we see activity across many building types: offices, residential apartment buildings, labour accommodation, warehouses, industrial facilities, hotels. Something like 250 million dirhams was invested in those new projects last year, and savings resulting from the projects were estimated to be just under 200 gigawatt hours of electricity and 132 million imperial gallons of water. If we look at how last year relates to the path of development, unsurprisingly, in 2014, when the scheme only got going, there was relatively little activity to report, but you can see that there's been at least a doubling of activity each year, so that by last year we had a total of something like 450 million dirhams have been invested in projects, and a total of 329 gigawatt hours expected to be saved. Now that's obviously very welcome from the point of view of the overall demand side management strategy. But I guess for people considering an ESCO project, the key thing is, well, what sort of benefits will that produce? And we're able to ascertain the extent of benefit from the project data we get. In almost all cases, we get both investment and savings data, and that allows us to look on a project-by-project basis and then aggregate up and see, for the investments that are being produced, what sort of bill savings are going to result. And the 428 million dirhams worth of projects for which we have that data are expected to produce savings of 120 million dirhams annually in electricity and water bills, a payback of just 3.5 years for those investments, which on a project of, say, with a 7 or 10 year life, is an annual return of better than 20%. So we're convinced that where customers, realize the benefits and are willing to enter into contracts with energy service companies, there really is an outstanding business case for those customers. And you'll hear now a bit more in detail about the specific projects that have already been carried out in Dubai and what the future holds. So thank you very much for listening to me, and here are my contact details, and I'll be happy to take questions through the Q&A and later.
Thank you very much, Graham. I agree there is an outstanding business case, and we're going to hear a lot of examples today, so I'm really looking forward to that. If I could ask you to stop sharing your screen at the top of the screen so that I can ask the next speaker, Pradeep, to share his. Do you know there is a stop sharing at the top of the screen? Excellent. Okay, so Pradeep, can I ask you to share your screen? And don't be shy. You guys have been really shy today. Usually I have a range of questions already, so make sure you use that Q&A box, and we can thereafter, afterwards take those questions up, and maybe some of them can be even answered as we go. So Pradeep, is going to share his screen next, and he's going to be speaking. Oh, excellent. And you already have your microphone out. Remember, we are recording, and we will send you the presentations. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Perfect. We can see your screen perfectly, so go ahead.
Hi. So I'll be talking on behalf of Mr. Ali. He was supposed to give this presentation, but unfortunately, he's occupied with other commitments. So I'm talking on his behalf, and I'll be presenting Etihad ESCO, and I'll be giving a brief introduction of Etihad ESCO, what Etihad ESCO is doing, how Etihad ESCO was formed, and I'll be sharing a key insight of the projects, what we have delivered in past couple of years, and the projects which are under the implementation stage. So Etihad ESCO was formed in year 2013 and is 100% owned by Dubai Electricity and Water Authority. Etihad was formed with a vision to make Dubai one of the most sustainable city, and its mission is to make Dubai built environment. Basically, Dubai is a hub or a house of buildings. So we are targeting the built environment, and we are trying to make that built environment a leading example of energy efficiency in the region and in the world. The main goal of Etihad ESCO formation was to achieve the target set by Dubai Supreme Council of Energy, that is to save 30% energy by 2030. And how we can going to save this target, how we are going to achieve this particular target. So to achieve this goal, so we are trying to create an EPC market, that is energy performance contracting market in Dubai. And how we can create this energy performance contracting market in Dubai? We can create this energy performance contracting market in Dubai by supporting local and international ESCOs companies. So what Graham have shown to you in his presentation, we have a couple of the fully aggregated ESCOs, and a lot more are like the provisionally aggregated ESCOs companies are there. And all these ESCOs companies are exclusively working with Etihad ESCO in Dubai for their ESCO projects. Again, I'll be repeating the same thing. What are the target by Supreme Council of Energy by 2030? This is 1.7 terawatt of electricity to be saved annually by 2030, 5.6 billion imperial gallon of water to be saved annually by 2030, and we need to reduce the overall CO2 consumption by around 1 million ton. And how we are going to achieve this particular figures, 1.7 terawatt, 5.6 billion imperial gallon, and 1 million ton CO2, we can achieve this target by retrofitting 30,000 facilities. So basically 120,000 facilities are there, like identified and in the initial stage, but out of that we have selected 30,000 facilities to retrofit in order to achieve the above mentioned targets. Apart from that, Etihad ESCO is managing the 8 programs. So there are basically 8 programs in Dubai DSM, that is demand side management program, okay, which is helping to achieve the saving of 30% by 2030. So Etihad ESCO have Takati, and Takati is the program manager for all these 8 programs. But at the same time, Etihad ESCO is a key account or a program owner also for 3 programs. So building retrofit, district cooling, and SAMS Dubai. So building retrofit is focused on retrofitting the buildings. Basically the existing buildings, we are doing the retrofit. We are trying to improve the efficiency. We are trying to reduce its overall consumption. We are trying to reduce its overall energy performance index. SAMS Dubai is basically focused on the solar PV program. So just to have the solar PV on top of each and every, like on top of each buildings. District cooling is focused on the large district cooling plants. So we are working for a couple of years for the building retrofit. SAMS Dubai and district cooling is a new program what was given to us. Hopefully, like we hope like we are doing good in building retrofit in SAMS Dubai, and we'll continue our same performance for the district cooling also. These are the 4 integrated service line, or you can say the department of Etihad ESCO. That's a retrofit to cater the requirement of program number 2. Etihad Solar to cater the requirement of program number 8. MNV and CCC, that is Command Control Center. So you know, like all the products as per the goal of Etihad ESCO, we need to deliver the products on the basis of EPC, that is energy performance contracting. So we need to be sure about what we are going to deliver. So whatever saving we are promising, we need to measure and verify that savings. So this particular department is doing the same job. So whatever ECMs or energy initiatives are implemented by retrofit or by solar department, there is a promise at the beginning. So this department, once the implementation is done, comes into picture. It verifies all the implemented measures and then generates a report that substantiates that yes, the promised saving has been delivered or it's not yet been delivered. Takati is the program manager of our 8 DSM programs, and soon we'll be having the district cooling and the building leveling program also as a part of integrated service lines of Etihad ESCO. I'll start with the solar solution. Program number 8. So what we provide basically in solar solution. So we do from the scratch till the end. So we do the proposal, designing, permitting. We do the financial contract closure also. If financing is required, we are able to do that also. On the behalf of the client, we can do the procurement, we can do the installation, we take the responsibility for the grid connection, and once the panel are installed, it started generating electricity, we do the sales management, after sales management also, like basically the O&M and the maintenance part. So if you look, we are making, like we are acting as a client representative and we are acting as a contractor also over here, and we are delivering the full-fledged proposal right from the initial stage till the O&M stage. So everything we are covering in our solar integrated service platform. I'll show you the key examples and one of the iconic projects what we have delivered. So we have retrofitted 640 Hatta villas with the solar PV panels. The overall capacity for this was 3 megawatt. This project is one of the iconic project because like within a defined timeline of like 7 to 8 months, we have retrofitted 640 villas, and you can imagine like putting solar panel on top of each and every villas, then taking approval, doing permitting, taking NOC, taking all the approvals in place. So that was a big job, and again it was delivered on a time. So this is one of the key projects what we have delivered. Second is Museum of Future, which is we are doing around 2.8 megawatt. It's having a ground mounted and the rooftop and the car park solar panels. We are doing the My Dubai and Gafat water reservoir. I can say this is the world's second largest solar PV panel on a single rooftop. It's around 18 megawatt peak, which is generating around 27.9 gigawatt of energy per annum. Vassal retrofit project. So here for Vassal building, we are retrofitting 243 buildings, but on top of 40 buildings, we are putting solar PV panel around 4.8 megawatt, which will generate around 7.4 gigawatt of electricity per annum. We are doing one of the complex, I say, project for Dubai Airport, that we're installing 5 megawatt of solar panel on the rooftop of Terminal 2. When I say it's a complex in terms, all the projects for the solar are on the LV connection, but this is on the medium voltage connection. So I think this is one of the key projects that is connected on a medium voltage. This is Dubai Festival City, what we have delivered, 2.5 megawatt peak. World Trade Center. So we have done a project for them for 1 megawatt. They saw the result. Now we are doing the second phase of the project, that is 3 megawatt. These are the summary of the projects what we have delivered in the solar retrofit programs. Coming down to the building retrofit. So we have delivered lot buildings. We have retrofitted a lot of the buildings. Here I'll be showing you the key summary of the building, what we have retrofitted and what all are under the implementation stage. Before that, what areas we can target in the building retrofit. So when you talk about the buildings, so basically the key, you can say like 50 to 60% of the energy consumption is coming from the cooling part. So we look at the HVAC part, we look at the air circulation, we look at the air quality. So that comes under the cooling retrofit. We do the light retrofit, that accounts for like 20% of the overall energy consumption in a building. We do the water fixtures. Basically, we look at the shutoffs, we look at the shower heads, what all the things are there in the building which is responsible for the water consumption. We look at them. We look at the solar part, like if there is any possibility to have the renewable part in the building, and then at the end we look at the building envelope and other retrofit kind of like if there is any process inside the building, we look for that. If we combine all this solution and put in a building, we can save around 20 to 70%. On an average, the building we can save like 30%. What are the products we have delivered that is having a saving of between 25 to 30%. 70% is example where we are just doing the light retrofit project. So that's why the overall range become from 20 to 70%. So this is the potential saving what we can get in a building. So this is a summary of the projects what we have delivered. It is already implemented. All these projects are the saving for all these projects are measured and verified. So if you look, Diva building, Diva lighting was the first project what we have delivered. So it's giving a saving of 74%. The phase 2 of Diva lighting was giving a saving of 68%. Then the Diva building retrofit, that's giving a saving of 30%. DFC 75% because it's a pure light retrofit project. Then Jebel Ali Free Zone, it's a 157 labor accommodation building that giving you a saving of 30%. Muhammad bin Rashid housing, that's again a pure light retrofit project that is giving a saving of 80%. We also have done one of the petrol station, that's Enoch, and for that one fuel station we are getting a saving of 36%. So we have retrofitted around 1845 facilities, which is generating a saving of 40 million dirham per annum, which is equivalent to 72 gigawatt of electricity. So all as we say, like we are doing all the projects on the basis of EPC contract, that's energy performance contracting. So this 40 million dirham or 72 gigawatt of electricity, this is all measured and verified. We are currently retrofitting around 2685 facilities. So this is the underway under the implementation, which will result into a saving of additional 217 gigawatt of energy and 101 million dirham. So again, if we look at this list of the projects, this is mainly dominated by the comprehensive building retrofit like Wasal, Dubai Airport, Dubai Golf, Dry Docks, Seven Tides, Islamic Affair, mosques, Jebel Ali Free Zone, basically all their lease office buildings, and Diva Initiative Phase 2 retrofitting of 2200 villas. So overall, if you look by end of 2019 or like early 2020, we'll be able to deliver a saving of almost near to 140 million dirham per annum, and we'll be able to retrofit more than like 4500 facilities by that time. And this number is keep on increasing. In Dubai, when Etihad was formed, there were only like 3 ESCO companies were present, but as of now it's like the number went from 3 to around 20. So there is a big growth and there is a big momentum in the energy market in Dubai. This is the business model what we follow. So Etihad sits in the middle. We enable this particular model. This particular model enables and it promotes the client, and it helps the client to deliver to implement the energy saving projects in his building, as if financial things is a burden for him. So we take the money from the financial institute, we give our suppliers, the ESCO company and the installer, they deliver the product for us, and We pay them the money upfront. The client didn't pay us a single penny. So once we deliver all the product for the client see the saving, and he start repaying the money back to the DEWA, that's the Dubai Electricity and Water Authority. So this is a complete cycle where client didn't have to pay anything, and he's paying only from the saving what he's achieving. Again, this particular business model is based on the EPC contracting also. So here the savings are guaranteed. So that's why we make the cash flow right at the beginning. And once the cash flow is made at the beginning, so the client is knowing from how much he's going to save and how much he has to pay back to the financial institute through DEWA. So this makes us comfortable to all the parties, and it's a win-win situation. And this model is pretty popular, and like a lot of the projects are delivered under this model only in Dubai. This is all from my end. My contact details are over here. And again, if you feel that if you have any questions from your end, please feel to ask to me. Okay, thank you.
Excellent, Pradeep. Thank you very much. I'm going to ask you to stop sharing your screen, please, so that I can ask the next speaker to share his. And next up is Marcus from Siemens. So if I can ask you to prepare everything. And I was just taking a look also. I see that you guys now have, are not shy any longer, and that you are starting to share and ask questions. Thank you very much. Also, I've seen that Graham is really applying himself and answering some of your questions. And one of the answers, I thought it was important, and I think we should probably mention, he says 70% of consumption is by cooling in Dubai. So, you know, focus on cooling, and also lighting is a very good area to save. So I just thought to share that with all of you. You ready, Marcus? You can go right ahead. We can see it perfectly.
Thank you, Billy. Thank you. And Pradeep also, thank you for a very good overview about activities of Etihad ESCO. All right, I wanted to give you a real case sample and our experience at one energy optimization here in Dubai. It's about the enhancing of the building performance of the Wafi mall and residential complex. So it is about reducing the energy consumption of one of, I mean, this is one of the major challenges of our time. And as it has been mentioned by the previous speakers, energy demand of buildings is in the magnitude of 40 to 70%, depending on which country, but I would say in average it's about 40%. So the governments and the building owners, of course, have a very high interest in lowering the energy consumption, because energy that you don't consume, you also don't have to produce. So although we see it from a building owner's perspective, from a governmental perspective, it is even more significant, because you do not have to invest billions in power plants and power generation that is just used for inefficiencies, or at least a high proportion of it is relatively inefficiently used. The heating and the in buildings and complexes and mixed-use buildings. The challenge here in Dubai is even greater, because cooling is responsible for even 70% during summer. So the reduction or reducing the energy consumption of buildings is good for the environment, but of course it also provides a better business case, cost savings for the owners, and a higher margin at the end. So today I want to share what Siemens has achieved in terms of energy and cost savings at the Wafi Mall complex in Dubai. It is a mixed-use development, a housing complex, mall, five-star hotel, and it includes residents, health and leisure facilities. Good. What was the challenge? The challenge was to increase the operational efficiency, reduce the costs, but at the same time maintain at least the comfort, or possibly improve even the indoor environment. So the cooling requirements of Wafi Mall were catered by a chiller plant, by a district cooling plant, which consists of 3 times 2,000 tons of refrigeration capacity. And by the way, I have to mention, this was the Middle East's first LEED Gold rated HVAC plant. So the first LEED Gold rated plant. And that's before Siemens touched it. So we often have the perception that once a building is LEED Gold plated or platinum rated, that efficiency must already be at its maximum. But what I'm going to show you later on It's just proving the case that even a gold or platinum plated or rated building can still be substantially improved. WAFI was looking for an innovative solution, and also, of course, as I said, to improve efficiency and to decrease costs. And it was not only the cost saving that was on their agenda. They said under no circumstances the comfort can be compromised. So our visitors and residents can't have any complaint about the comfort level. So that's an important element in the whole equation. First, of course, it's about connection to data, about collection of data, having more sensors, more meters. Our biggest enemy is mostly value engineering, because a beautifully designed building and concept and technological solution gets often value engineered, and all the data points and measurement points are getting reduced. And we had to gather data from 2,000 data points and measurement points, which are electricity meters, various sensors, but also we had to connect weather data. And the key element was a patented software solution from Siemens called Demand Flow. And I will tell you later on a bit more about it. Yeah. So once we had connected and collected the data, most significant is to analyze the data from all of this plant equipment and sensors to create actionable insights and to fine-tune the operation of the building and to adjust the controls. So that was done by the Demand Flow software. And of course, we deployed variable frequency drives at condenser pumps, at the chill water pumps, and at the cooling tower fans, which allowed the software to run the system, as the name says, demand flow, very tuned to the demand. We try to establish a very linear way of dispatch and operation, and there is where the savings are generated. And as a result, the system is able to reduce the flow during the periods of reduced demand, and it can lower the operation and maintenance costs significantly. Yep. What has been achieved? We call it a perfect place. Astonishing 40% reduction in cooling demand, or energy used for cooling. That is translated into $750,000 of annual savings, and it even improved the guest experience, the indoor climate, the user perception, and the comfort. What more to say? I mean, like I mentioned before, the implementation of energy efficiency mechanisms has not only compromised or has not created any compromise of guest comfort or user experience. It even improved it. And I think that was a predicate given to us by the operator. The payback period for this whole business was 2 years. It was a fantastic business case and a fantastic investment and proof of concept that energy efficiency investments really pay off, because once you optimize the building for the remaining lifetime of the building, you are running at reduced costs and improved profit margins. So that gives you more flexibility, more competitiveness, and so on. What is it about? It is about connecting the physical world with the digital world, the whole infrastructure, the lighting, the comfort, the network, and the sensors. That's one thing that exists in every building, but most of the time the system is not connected. Actually, data is getting lost, is not even harnessed, and is not analyzed. And by connecting it to the digital world, applying machine learning, applying new ways of human interfacing, having operational technology interfacing with information technology, that is what equals or comes down to a smart building, where the building can react in real time to the needs, the productivity and the satisfaction of the occupants is increasing. At the same time, we are maintaining or even improving the safety, efficiency, and the reliability of the building. So I often summarize it. We are so much focusing on the cost saving, and that's amazing. We are having more than 100 possible cases here in the UAE alone, where we want to spin this positive business case forward. like one of the speakers has mentioned before, what is observed is a bit of a crisis of trust, or a lack of trust. It's not a crisis, it's a lack of trust. From my perspective, I can only say this business cases really pay off, and we will eagerly go into any opportunity, because we are so sure that cost savings is a very valuable investment with a very short payback period. But what's the future bringing? The future is not only about cost saving, it is about productivity improvements. And I like to mention here, I hope that you have some questions related to productivity improvements later on in the Q&A. Siemens is running 2 companies that you may have heard of, but you are not aware that Siemens is behind them. It is Enlightened on the right side on the slide, which has superior sensor technology, which looks at motion detection, about light intensity, power consumption. It has its own data network capability, and also observes, of course, the temperature and user interaction. So second is building robotics, most known for its application called Comfy. It's a way where users can interact with the system. Users can actually voice their opinion, communicate with facility management. Why do I say that? Because I want to also give you a bit of a glimpse of the way ahead. It's not only about cost savings, it is also about improving the user experience and the user interaction, because that is increasing the productivity of the occupants of a building. Last but not least, I like to mention that you can contact us at this given contact details at any time, either QR code or in old-fashioned email and phone numbers. I also like to introduce my head of business development, Tony Faisal, to you. So please stay in touch with us after this webcast, during the webcast, whenever you like. We also like to visit you in our region. If you want to have contact with our colleagues in your region outside of the Middle East, we are very happy to entertain and facilitate that as well. Thank you so much for listening, and I'm looking forward to many of your questions. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Marcus. It's always good to see. It doesn't happen very often in life where you can save money and have more productivity. So it's great to see that this is the case, and sometimes it comes to show that thinking a little bit laterally about a problem, right? It becomes a little bit more smart, and therefore we can make better decisions.
Yes.
So I'd like just to ask you to stop sharing your screen, please, so that we can ask the next speaker. We have 2 more presentations to come, and as you can see, in each of them is even more interesting. There is more learners to be achieved. So Olaf, can I ask you to please now show your screen so that we can hear from you? And I am delighted to see that so many of you have so many questions. I'm really looking forward to actually then when we answer some of them live, but I think that Pradeep and Graham are so far doing a really amazing job responding most of them. So Olaf, you ready? I can see your screen perfectly.
Yeah, I'm ready. Thank you again for having me. I would like to share a bit of insights on how lighting can contribute to energy savings in this new world. First, a bit of introduction, because Signify is basically a bit of a new name in the market, and that's because Philips Lighting has separated from the rest of Philips earlier, 2 years ago. And as part of that process, we have changed our company name, although we will still market the Philips brand with our products. We are the world leader in lighting, and we are also, like Graham already mentioned, one of the accredited ESCO companies here in Dubai. And as such, we have been working on a number of projects already. First, a bit of why lighting is relevant in this discussion on energy saving, because often when I speak to people, they say, especially in the Middle East where it's so hot, most of the electricity goes into cooling. So why would I consider to invest in lighting? Well, obviously, it is true that the cost of electricity for cooling in this region is much higher than it is for lighting. But it is not to say that lighting plays a relevant role in the energy consumption. It's around 20% of the electricity bill of buildings that is spent on lighting. And that if you consider then that nowadays with LED lighting you can save 50 to 70% of that 20%, yeah, it can still play a very relevant role in an energy saving project. And yeah, LED lighting, I guess that many people already know the benefits, but just to summarize, LED technology also brings a number of other benefits. It has a longer lifetime, so the investment also pays back for a longer period of time. It's mercury free. I guess that many people are aware that TL tubes that you see often in commercial buildings have a little bit of mercury inside, which unfortunately still often goes to the landfill. You have instant light, which is especially relevant for outdoor lighting and street lighting. If there's a power interruption and the power comes back, also the lights come back immediately. And last but not least, it is easier to control the light. LED lighting is in fact digital lighting. Like with Siemens, we're also working nowadays a lot of making lighting smarter. If we talk about the energy saving projects and how lighting is then tapping into this, we basically work with a couple of key performance outcomes, and that's energy saving. So we commit to a certain energy saving that the customer wants to achieve and we can offer. That's one element, but then of course the other element is that you still want to have some light in your building. The easiest way to save energy is to switch off the lights, but that's not how we work. We also commit to deliver the right level of light in the application. And the third element is uptime. So how fast can we replace defective lights and make sure that the application or the area where you work is basically not disturbed by lighting failures. How do we work throughout the project? We are with quite a big team here in Dubai and also in other markets, of course, around the globe. First of all, we plan the project. We do an audit to understand what is the energy saving potential. Once the initial interest is there, we detail that further in order to be able to commit actually to the energy savings that we promise. Then we can execute. We deliver the products. We install them together with a partner in the facility. We can also operate it. That can range from basically managing the lighting installation from beginning to end until, let's say, maintenance and replacement contracts where we also replace defective products for a certain period of time, or for example throughout the contract period. Also, what we can still do, and especially when we're working with smart solutions, is try to optimize further on a building. So if we install sensors, we can, for example, identify which areas are not so heavily used, and together with the customer see if further space optimizations can be achieved, so that, for example, part of the building can be rented out to somebody else, and you can achieve quite a bit of cost savings with that. Then I wanted to give a couple of examples. One of them is the DIWA power plants that we executed a couple of years back. It was quite a critical application. You can imagine that the big power plants of the Electricity and Water Authority in Dubai cannot just like that be stopped. So all the work had to be done during the installation being operational. Around 8,500 lighting fixtures, some of them in very difficult positions. And there we were able to achieve 75% savings in the lighting consumption. So this is something that we commit to upfront, and that has to be then, of course, measured and verified throughout the contract period. So regularly we go back with certified energy managers to measure if the energy savings are actually achieved and if we are actually delivering the correct light levels that we promised. As a result, there's about 14 gigawatt hours of energy saving per year. So it's quite an interesting project in an actual electricity generation plant. Another example that I wanted to highlight, it's more of an office application, the Dubai International Financial Center, where we did a lighting retrofit of all the common areas. A big part of that was in the parking garages, and there we installed a lighting installation that not only is more efficient because we use LED technology, but also because the lights are actually dimmed. So we also add lighting controls to the equation, and the lights dim down to a lower light level when nobody is in the parking garage. And you can imagine that, especially in offices, during the morning when people arrive, the garage is heavily used, maybe a bit during lunchtime, and then in the evening when people leave. But the rest of the day, the lights used to be on at 100% all the time. And that's a big electricity cost that's unnecessarily there. So that's a quite interesting solution. There we delivered the lights. We first audited, of course. We did a design and installed, and are now also taking care of the spare parts for the project. And we do a performance guarantee of 6 years. So a customer knows that the energy savings are being achieved and the lighting levels are secured. That's what I wanted to share. If there are any questions, you can ask them now in the Q&A, or you can send me an email that is here. I think, Belen, that the presentations will all be shared. So please feel free to contact me.
Yeah, indeed, Olaf. All the presentations will be shared as well as the recording, so everybody will have your details as well. And worry not, we're having questions. There are some questions for you as well already in the Q&A box. Can I ask you to stop sharing your screen so that we can allow the last but not least, once again, presentation for today, which could be Based from Dubai Airport. So you're going to hear a real case study that is happening right now from the horse's mouth, as it's usually said. So straight from the source. And you can also value, yourself, evaluate, how good these systems are. Are you ready to go? Oh, okay. Prepare your presentation for me here. And just to let you know, all of the questions that you're sending, I know that you're sending more like we will get through them. This session today is probably going to last around 80 minutes. We're going to take a little bit of time to answer your questions. So send them through. Okay, we'll get through to them. Right, Based, when you're ready.
Yeah, ready.
Perfectly. We can see your presentation, so go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. My name is Abdul Basat. I will be talking about toward an energy efficiency at Dubai Airport. So we are the energy management team department, Dubai Airport, and I'm just gonna share with you guys my information at the beginning of the presentation. So you guys gonna have any question, inquiry, you can actually send that one to me, or you can ask question at the bottom of the system. You can just add to it. We will get back to. So first of all, as we know, Dubai Airport Vision. Dubai Vision was to become a role model to the world energy security and efficiency. So Dubai 2030, this is our target, to save 30% of energy. Based on that, what we are focusing on in terms of, first of all, we have to make sure the security of energy supply. So in terms of gas, clean coal, natural gas, or utility scale, solar or importing or nuclear. And then you have reduction of demand, and you have innovative and enable, and you have sustainable growth, which is going to be waste management, green mobility, investment in clear and smart technology. So as far our target is going to be 30% by 2030. So now I'm going to go actually for energy consumption. The annual electrical consumption is going to be over 1 million kilowatt per hours, and annual water consumption is going to be 1,120,000, just to get the figure here. And you have the annual passenger and cargo, the reduction of the CO2 by tons. So this is the detail. Actually, this is the baseline for 2016. And then the high energy intensity facilities, which is in the map, you can see with the blue, which is going to be Terminal 1, Terminal 2, and Terminal 3. This is the location. Actually, we are looking into it, if you can see it. And then now we're going to go to Dubai Airport project phase. We have actually 2 phases of the project. The project phase is going to be, first of all, it's going to be a retrofit project in terms of building. And we have a retrofit project in terms of lighting. So the energy baseline is going to be 168 million in EAD. And the location is going to be Terminal 1, Terminal 2, and Terminal 3, and Concourse B. In terms of retrofit project phase 2 is going to be building and lighting retrofit project, and energy baseline is going to be 140 million AD, and the remaining facility is around between 95 facility overall Dubai Airport. The energy consumption segment is going to be, we're focusing on heating, ventilation, and air conditioning like HVAC, and you have self-generated solar PV, water, lighting, outdoor and indoor, and pumping station and raw power. And this is ESCO proposal. So basically what we have a contract with ESCO to do the energy retrofit in Dubai Airport. Since the Dubai ESCO is part of DU, so I think they are well known in the market. So we have a contract with them to do our overview, the potential energy saving in Dubai Airport. So this is the steps we went. First, we did auditing. Auditing means we did evaluation all the facility in Dubai Airport to make sure what are the potential saving, what are the initial areas we can actually get saving, and what are the issues or problems could lead to have a more disruption in terms of cost. So our focus is reduce cost and energy by 2030. So first, what we did actually, we did the technical evaluation. What we did conduct level 1 and level 2 audit, and then we got the result. Based on that and a report that we submitted, and when we get the report, we did the cost benefit analysis to understand what are potential saving in energies. And then we did the proposal and evaluation and a value engineering on that report. Based on that report, our technical team actually evaluate the analysis of documents report we got, and we have commercial evaluation to understand what are the benefit of doing the retrofit. And then we have the recommendation. Then before that, we did make sure that whatever requirements is toward our vision, which is 2030. And then we define the project scope and project plan, and the steps gonna be next one is measurement and verification plan. And we have the maintenance proposals and training program. So this is a step actually focused when come to technical components of the project. And this is the identify energy consumption measure. So the focus for what we have to change, this is fresh air plant optimization with exhaust fan optimization, water consumption, chiller plant optimization, replacement with the old DX unit with energy efficient unit. And we actually never have a solar PV installation in Terminal 2. And we have lighting, which is going to be lead retrofit. So Dubai Airport, which is the project scope, as a part of the project phase 1 audit outline, we have Terminal 1, we did audit Terminal 1, Terminal 2, and Terminal 3, and Concourse B. So this is what we did. We did pre-qualification with ESCO, RFF, request for proposal preparation, investment grade audit, technical proposal, proposal evaluation, value engineering. So we did all the stuff to make sure that we understand what needs to be done. So outcome of this, we're going to be what? Electrical and water saving, 23% saving per year. Project value around 141.2 million. Zero capex from Dubai Airport. 100% of the project was funded by ESCO. So this is something that we wanted. Simple payback period would be within 2.83 years. So almost 3 years. And project scope and Audit outline actually lighting is going to be same. We did terminal 1, terminal 2, terminal 3, and concourse B. For the lighting and outdoor lighting is going to be outdoor and indoor. And the procedure, we did the same step that the first previously we did with ESCO. And the outcome of this was electrical saving by 55% per year. Project value is 136 to 140 million AD, and zero capex from the DXP. 100 of the project, 100% project was funded by ESCO. Actually, this is a good thing for us. And period time almost less than 4 years. So this is the value engineering if Dubai Airport retrofit projects is, if initiated by Dubai Airport, is going to be 141 million. Both Etihad ESCO is 97, so we saved 31% difference. And the value we got in the lighting, 78 million. With Etihad ESCO, if Dubai Airport is going to be 170. So again, we saved 33 million there. This is actually the cost saving from the value engineering is going to be around 83 million. So this is retrofit phase 2, audit outcome. The project scope remaining built facility, we have 95 facility. We're going to do the same step of the project, pre-qualification from ESCO, RFA, investment grade. So all the life cycle of the before initiative, we have to prepare for it to make sure to sign up the contract and what are the value in terms of saving of energy. So the outcome was doing this, we're going to get from 40 to 20% saving per year. In terms of project value, is going to 100 to 140 million AD. And again, it's going to be refunded by ESCO, so we don't have to pay anything. Payback period within 5 years. This is a phase 2. And then measurement and verification plan, a critical option. So we have retrofit isolation is a key parameter measurement. Saving determined by a partial field measurement of energy use of the system. Lighting retrofit where pre and post retrofit wastage are measured and compared. And then we have retrofit key parameter, again saving determined. So we have B and C, the whole facility saving determined by measuring energy use at utility meter level. Bills may be corrected for whether several ACMs affecting many systems in the building. And the last was collaborate simulation, which is determined using building simulation, affected energy management problem affecting many systems in the building where no base year data available yet. And thank you so much. And basically, retrofit project, we did collaboration in closely working with Etihad ESCO. They are the main key for us that we did have a contract with them. So we are expecting to deliver most of the project for next year. And this is actually a good thing for us in terms of the saving and how much we can save by 2030. And thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you very much to you, Bassett. I would ask you to stop sharing the screen so that we can go into the questions and answers portion of this session. And there has been tons of questions. From what I can see here, 28 answered. You know, there is still one open, and I'm sure we're going to have more. But now as we are talking, then Graham won't be able to be answering them. So Graham, could you give us first a little bit of a summary? You've been answering most of them. I know that Pradeep has also answered some. What have you found? What questions have you had? You know, what is the general line of questioning that people have?
Thanks. But I don't think it's true to say I've been answering most of them. I can look at the number have been answered. So everyone's been pitching in. That's the first thing to say. I think the most common question I've seen is around what are the sorts of measures that people find it worthwhile to implement. We've touched on that in the presentation. The balance, you know, in this climate in particular, the need to address really anything that affects the size of the cooling bill, whether that's the building envelope, so the building just needs less cooling, or it's improving the systems within the building. Lighting is clearly the other, you know, the major area where, because of the way technology has developed in the last decade or so, the percentage savings you can make against your lighting bill are enormous. People have been asking about financing. And I know Pradeep has also responded on that. You know, there have been a number of financing methods used. Etihad has been able to obtain financing for its projects. Some ESCOs have their own financing, so it's not unusual for there to be, you know, people interested in financing ESCOs directly, and the ESCO then goes to the client and say, we can finance the project for you. We've seen some third-party financing, and Dubai is developing a green fund. an interesting question around, which both Pradeep and I answered, around whether there was a conflict of interest in the role of Etihad as the super ESCO against other ESCOs. And I'd say not. Etihad likes to position itself as in between the ESCOs that implement projects and the client. And what Etihad has been very effective at doing is getting clients, particularly from the public sector, and packaging up really substantial projects. We heard about the JAPSA project, which was 150 odd buildings, or the DIFC project, which was thousands and thousands of light fittings. And then those projects are put out to market. And then the last question I'd mention was one around the how do you deal with buildings which are rented rather than owned? And I think that's a challenge in any market, because the people occupying the building don't necessarily expect to be there for very long. And one thing worth mentioning is we're looking at developing a building rating scheme for Dubai that would provide more transparent information to renters on what would be the cost to them of occupying a particular building, and that in turn then places an incentive on building owners to make their buildings efficient so they're as attractive as possible to potential tenants.
Thank you very much. There is just one that has just come in here where it asks about RSB and if there is a program for rating buildings as per their energy efficiency profile. I understand you refer to gold, platinum. Is this an RSB program?
Not the reference to gold, platinum. I think that might be a reference to things like LEED. So as I was just saying in discussion, we are looking at a building rating scheme which would take the actual performance of buildings, now measured from their electricity bills, and assign a rating based on that. So it's quite common for new buildings to be rated. There's a rating, LEED is very widely used, but it's less common. Well, in Dubai, we don't yet have a scheme that allows you to rate existing buildings. So that's something we are working on.
Okay. Pradeep, you've also answered a few questions. Would you like to add anything or any questions that have been to your attention so that we can build on those?
Again, one of the key questions, like the position of Etihad ESCO, the conflict of interest, what Graham said, I would again emphasize on the same thing. Again, we are trying to put in a place where we can create a momentum for the energy market in Dubai. We are putting ourselves in the middle of the client and the ESCO companies. And we are acting as a client representative, and we are making sure that things are delivered in a proper way. We are looking at the measurement and verification. We are doing the project management. But the actual implementation of the energy efficiency projects are being done by our RSB accredited ESCO companies. It's not by us. So again, there is no conflict of interest. Other questions they're talking about, which I encountered for the financing of the retrofit projects. Yes, there is a green fund available in Dubai for the sustainable projects. Okay, and if we talk about Etihad ESCO, so Etihad ESCO also arranged financing for a couple of retrofit projects, and I can say one of the biggest retrofit project in the region, like Dubai Airport, both the phases, building retrofit and light retrofit projects, which is I can say it's one of the largest project in Dubai or in the region. We have done the Jebel Ali free zone financing also. So again, if there is a financing hurdle, that's why Etihad is in the middle. And if you look at the business model of Etihad ESCO, we position ourselves in such a way that the client didn't feel financing doesn't have a hurdle for the financing, and we do that. So these are the key questions what I got, and after that there are some technical questions: how much saving we can do, what's the typical kind of a payback period. So again, we are focusing on all the components which can help us to save the energy. At the same time, we are putting ourselves where we are targeting at the retrofit the payback of 3 to 4 years. In case if we have to finance the project, the overall EPC contract duration can be somewhere near to 6 to 8 years. The money has to be repaid during that duration. So that's our typical kind of a payback what we are looking for. These are the questions which I am answering, and again, there are a couple of questions still open, 2 questions I'll answer to that also.
Okay, thank you very much. We can do them live, actually. I just have, before we go to the actual questions and we just read them straight from I'd like to ask Olaf, you also answered a bunch of them, but also there was some specific on lighting. So perhaps you can give us also a little bit of, and then we'll just take the questions straight as you send them.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I got a couple of questions indeed. One was around how long do the lights live? So what's the lifetime of the products? That's something that depends, of course, highly on the application and how intensive the usage of the lights is. For this kind of projects, we always guarantee at least the lights for the contract period. Until now, that's usually somewhere between 5 to 7 or 8 years. But generally speaking, the lifetime of the LED fixtures is already much longer than that. So the benefit for customers goes well beyond the contract period. So that's one element. Another question was around new technology. So is there something that comes after LED? Well, yeah, there are other lighting technologies. There's, for example, laser, but the way it looks now, for the foreseeable future, LED lighting will be the most efficient light source to use. What we do see is that more and more lighting controls are being added to the equation to further save on the electricity consumption, and that often in combination with other systems. So, like Marcus was also talking about, creating a smart building. So that's something that we also see in terms of measurement and verification. I think measuring the electricity consumption for lighting, it's not such a big challenge. The question was, are there any challenges you see? From a lighting perspective, I can say that the electricity consumption is not so difficult. Lighting measurement, also it's not complicated, but what is important is to define very well between the ESCO and the customer how you define the sample size. So how granular do you want to have the measurement and verification process, because there's often, of course, also a cost attached to that. So that's something to keep in mind when defining how precise you want to have the measurement and verification done.
Thank you very much, Olaf. And I'd like to ask you a question, actually, all of you, as clients, as the ones that the vendors, the ones that give the services. What do you think is the ideal optimized payback period for between customers and service providers? Because we've heard from 2 years. Actually, Marcus gave a presentation where he said 2 years, which is excellent payback period, all the way to 5. So yeah, Marcus would like to answer this. So go ahead, Marcus.
Thank you. It's because in my list, I'm looking at probably above 100 targets and projects that we have already analyzed just in the UAE and a few tens more in the surrounding countries. The typical sweet spot of investments is between 2 and 6 years. And you wouldn't believe there are people who have a 1 year payback period and still don't invest. So it's very subjective. And what has been mentioned before, it's by Graham, it's a trust issue. So, but we see most projects develop and turn into contracts between 2 and 6 years. If you are dealing with government institutions or armed forces, not here in the UAE, but maybe internationally, you see they are going close to 20 years of payback period. There's a different view. And but the private and commercial investors here in the UAE would typically stick around maybe exactly like it was in the report, 3.5 years. That's a sweet spot right in the middle. And I have so many projects below and I have so many projects above. And if you ask me why they're not going for it, then we are in a philosophical discussion. And I think what is really needed in this, that the owners take charge, that the owners, the developers really look at this personally and not let middle management make a decision on the efficiency of the building in future. And that's actually where the lack is. That, try to sell the Uber app to a taxi driver. He will not be your best friend, right? So if we are trying to promote efficiency to typical building management, operational management, there is automatically a bounce back or a reaction of, are you trying to teach me something? Are you saying I haven't done a great job so far? So I fully understand that, and very often me and my team face this in daily life and discussions. So it's a call to the decision makers, the leaders, the owners, the developers, to actually say, hey guys, okay, I understand that, and I want this to happen, and this is my sustainability target, and I charge you, I want you to save 20% or more, right? So it is a decision that must go very high up, and then from high up go top down, and then even 6 years makes a lot of sense nowadays. Even I would go for 8 years, it makes a lot of sense, right? So that's, it always depends which management level.
So what you're saying is it depends on the vision and the strategy overall. And perhaps the vision and strategy in terms of energy efficiency is not front of mind for managers. There's other things that I can see. Maybe, Basat, you can, from the point of view of the customer, you know, what is something that you can deal with? What would you like to see more?
In terms of customer, we always focus the duration of period time, because you have to make sure when you do a project, what the duration of the project, if it's 18 months, if it's 15 months, if it's 24 months. Based on that, you decide, because what happened, the duration of the project is not going to start return of investment is after you complete the project. So we have some places like if you delay the project, then the period time is going to be delay the return investment. So there's an operation impact in this one. We have to make sure, because in Dubai airport, we have such a many stakeholders. When you do a project in terms of retrofit, you have to make sure all the stakeholders are happy and none of the stakeholder is operationally impacted. So we have the major thing in Dubai airport is safety. The safety is the key, because we are really strictly in safety, because we're having a lots of problem with subcontractors not following the procedure of Dubai airport in terms of safety, which is delaying the projects and overall impacting the passengers and impacting the stakeholders. So in Dubai airport award, which is you have to be careful what you're doing. You cannot just define, I say I want to do a project and you just put numbers. You said you're going to go ahead and complete the project without preparing a risk assessment and mitigation that risk. In terms of impacting the operation, which is, you know, we are environment. One more mistake can stop all the operation, which is going to impact Dubai airport. Airport is a complex environment. We must ensure that the right resources and development is the ESCO there. So that's how we do it. So while we have a contract with ESCO, we have 3-year return of investment. So we are happy because we know the result will be there. So we have 18 months of the project duration. We have 7 years of the contract of the maintenance, and we have a period payback of 3 years. So this is one thing we are actually excited and happy to work with them. So that's why we have this element. You have to make sure everyone is happy, no operation is impacted, then we can do our job right. So that's it.
Excellent. And some questions just popped up for you. It says, how did you communicate your energy savings to your stakeholders? So how did you communicate that this was an important step to take?
So first of all, we had some awareness campaign. We have some workshops. So before we initiate something, we set our stakeholders. You just give him a briefly what we're going to do at the Dubai airport, as what is the vision of Sheikh Mohammed to providing. We have to reduce energy. So there's a strategy what there. So we set the stakeholders in terms of meeting and workshop. We will actually present them what are the Dubai strategy, what we are looking for, aiming, what our vision of Dubai airport. And this awareness campaign, we actually give them brochures and, you know, all of that's good things to make sure that is aware of what is coming up for them. That was actually make all the stakeholders happy, because when you do something in the airport, you have to make sure everyone know what you're doing. If you don't give him what we are doing here, then there will be a problem. So we use, you know, the system in Dubai airport that help us with the customer to do it. So basically, we also do it. We organize, and we have Taqati. You know, there's a company that had this called as awareness campaign. So this is basically we do it as a workshop, and make sure communicate everything by email. Or you have our HGCA, you know, stakeholder engaged. So we do the stakeholder meeting all the time.
It's a complicated thing, I suppose, to achieve, but it's really necessary. And Marcus wants to add something, so go ahead.
Thank you. I wanted to ask Abdul Basit, how is the prioritization of these projects? Because I often see it in the hospitality industry. Even I know the business case we are promoting is maybe between 2 and 4 years, but still the project is not lined up as number one, but maybe put back, because in hospitality they want to do maybe a refurbishment of an outlet of a restaurant, or maybe even little changes in the interior design. So I can imagine that even on the airport, if you mentioned before security, safety, and so on, most or often overrides investments that are logic, are short-term payback, but maybe not on highest priority. How do you experience this?
We have a DA corporate metric finance. So this is, we mean energy equal to cost. We are of the, because some, to use the energy, that one. So when you do that matrix, energy versus cost, so this is the main priority. Cost is the priority. Saving money is the priority. When you save money, everyone want to do work with you, because saving enemy, that money will use for other operation. That's the, I think this is our main vision, is that how we can do. Plus there's environmental.
Excellent. Okay, we have a few more questions. Olaf, there is a question for you online about the Dubai lamp. Could you answer that for us?
Yeah, sure. Dubai lamp, maybe not everybody knows this project. It was a lamp that we developed together with Dubai municipality to be the most efficient lamp in the world. It has an efficacy of 200 lumen per watt and saves 95% compared to an incandescent lamp. We developed this lamp specifically for the consumer business, so residential applications, whereas let's say the ESCO model is more focused on, in general at least, on professional applications. So although some of the spots, for example, of Dubai lamp we can use in the ESCO projects, in general there isn't too much overlap. In terms of the lamp being mandatory in Dubai, no, it's not mandatory. Regulation for lighting is becoming more strict. You see now, for example, that in Europe also halogen lamps are getting banned. So there's more and more drive towards the application of energy-saving lighting. But I do think that Dubai lamp contributed highly to creating awareness throughout the market and industry on what can be achieved in terms of energy saving with lighting. And I think only from that perspective already, it has been a great success.
Thank you very much, Olaf. And I was just going to ask, Pradeep, you've already answered it, but would you mind doing it live? The question is financing through Etihad a better option than other possible options? Can you talk right now, Pradeep?
Yes. I think the financing through Etihad is a better option. Look, financing is one component of the overall retrofit project, but like the core or the heart of the EPC project is the M&V. So when we talk about the financing, and if you get the M&V also in your hand, that's the best situation. Secondly, Etihad ESCO try to maintain a transparency and act as a third party for the whole complete process. So which puts the client in a very comfortable zone. When we do the measurement and verification, we develop this plan right ahead of doing any contract. We do consult our client. We do inform our ESCO company what all the M&V measurement and verification plan we are putting. Why we are putting such a plan? Is it possible for us to do the measurement and verification in such a way? These are the key things which Etihad ESCO provides. And on top of that, whenever you talk about the EPC contracting, there is always a guarantee on the energy saving. Suppose someone say it's 20%, 25%, 30% guarantee is there. But the moment you implement the project, you always have a saving more than the guaranteed saving. So what Etihad ESCO do, generally it gives all 100% of the extra saving, achieved extra saving to the client. So there is no share of the extra saving achieved. So which is a win-win position, like it's a great, which put clients in a great position to go ahead with Etihad for the financing of its EPC projects.
I was going to say, give me two, give me two. Sounds excellent, actually, especially if those are achieved. And, you know, a final question, unless you guys obviously have anything to add, we'll take, I'll do a round if you want to add anything. But I would like to ask a last question. You know, Marcus mentioned thermal comfort, you know, productivity, you know, a number of things. But to me, this is quite difficult to measure, right, with a client. I mean, what does it mean? You know, like, yes, there is the part where like 2 degrees is going to go up or down. But then there is another part where like I am always cold, and I'm sure you guys, you know, have different thermal. So how do you make sure that what you're actually delivering is smarter? And how do you make sure, even more importantly, that you measure that, that you can measure this? So I don't know if you want to answer, Marcus, maybe you can start, since you even mentioned that you'd like a question on this. And then after that, then others can add.
Good, good. I like the question, and I wanted to respond in more detail, because this is touching, for me, the future. This is touching the user experience. And honestly, there is more money to be made for the owners and developers of buildings out of productivity improvements than it is to be made out of cost savings. Currently, we all just focus on how much money can we squeeze out of the operations by saving costs. But it's a multiple that you can actually squeeze out by making the people in the building, the occupants, feel better. And that question is targeting actually, so how do the people actually really feel? And it's currently not in the equation. We are just making sure that they are not feeling any worse, right? So we are making sure that under no circumstances, when they walk through the building, the mall, the complexes, they're feeling any kind of hotspots. I mean, it's regionally different. Here in the Middle East, you don't want to feel hotspots. In Europe, you don't want to feel cold spots. So it's a very subjective and regionally different situation. So apart from that, we are doing the standardized measurements and we are monitoring on the software tools what we deliver constantly. But this does not work without the subjective opinion of a group of humans actually walking through the facility and giving their opinion, right? Because that's the ultimate truth. And we do that together with the client. And I think I'll let now the others respond. But I believe that's part of the how to make people feel even better.
Can you repeat the last bit, because we lost you there for a minute, and just say it again.
I love the question, because this touches what we will do in future, what we will concentrate in the next 5 to 10 years. Not how to save only cost, but how can we make people feeling even better, because when they feel better, they will be more productive. And the highest cost, a multiple of the operating cost, is actually the salaries or even rents of tenants, but the salaries of the occupants of a typical office building or airport or conference center or whatever.
I think, you know, you can put a huge sign that says, we've saved this much, and people will feel happy, right? I think that's part of it as well, a little bit of understanding, but this is just my thinking, because feeling that you saved is good, you know, feeling that you're part of the solution is also good, but this is just me. What about you? Did you want to add? Bassett or Olaf, Graham, anyone who wants to add your last?
I can maybe just a few words. I would like to underline what Marcus was talking about. We recognize that also from Signify that the well-being of people is getting or is already very important, but it's also getting more attention. It's indeed the case that the cost of let's say, employees and human capital for a company or an organization is much higher than the cost of energy. So from that perspective, it's also a very valuable investment, but sometimes a bit underrated. But that is changing. So you see, for example, that the WELL standard is getting more important also here in the region. And we also are working from Signify perspective on more solutions that can contribute, often working together with systems like those of Siemens to make the whole building smarter and more focused around the well-being of people.
either.
Definitely, can see Bassett is just itching to answer. You deal with a lot of people, so you.
No, I'm just going to add to just a final statement. So as you know, Dubai Airport is one of the biggest energy user in UAE because we work 24 hours. You have more than 4 buildings, and our energy strategy address government strategy of 2030 and 2050. Okay, so our environmental footprint and finance is the key to our energy program. So we are committed with Etihad ESCO to help make Dubai a smart and efficient city. This is my statement to add to it.
Thank you very much. And yeah, this is the commitment, right? This will keep us going. And last but not least, you know, there was a comment here from Emmanuel saying that I always have difficulty in implementing energy conservation efforts against the comfort level of the occupants, which I agree with. And I'd like to ask Graham, you know, to give us the final words, you know, as the co-organizer and also the main lead in this webinar, give us the final words and the final evaluations. We had a lot of questions, all in all about 40 many. So I think it's been a good webinar, but Graham, yeah, any final says, opinions, questions?
No, not really. I'd just like to thank everybody who's taken part in the webinar, whether as a presenter or been online throughout. I still see we've still got a healthy number of participants left, even after nearly an hour and a half, and lots of great questions, which I think have really helped take the presentations and flesh out the issues that were of interest and concern to people. So thanks very much for all your attention. It's been very worthwhile for us, and yeah, it's great to see so much interest in this very important topic for Dubai and obviously for the rest of the world as well.
Thank you very much, Graham. And yes, I agree. I mean, this is a complex issue, correct? It's a complex issue that we've never really thought about in the past. We're now sitting here and saying, can we do more with less? And the answer is yes, we can. And you know, you've heard plenty of examples of how more can be done with less, you know, more, what was it, more productivity in less cost. So that is absolutely excellent. And these tools, they exist, they're warranted, you know, the financing is all worked out. It's all easy, it's easier than you think. That is, I think, what I've taken away from this webinar. It's much easier than you think. But because it's new, it's also complicated to communicate. And when something is complicated to communicate, that is what happens. We kind of like subconsciously become a little bit afraid of it, or, you know, wary, or we put it off. But there is no more time to put it off. You know, the actual results and the benefits are very clear. You've heard it here from 5 top experts. So get in touch, you know, get talking, let's get this done, because at the end of the day, it's not just a matter of changing, you know, into renewable energy. That is not enough. We also can do more with less, and then we need to make sure that that we keep that in mind. So without further ado, I'd just like to thank, you know, give a round of applause to all of our speakers in your office. Well, maybe don't, you know, because everybody was going to look a little bit strange clapping away. And without further ado, thank you very much as well to all our audience, and we'll see you next time. Make sure that you're energy efficient. Be part of the solution. And thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.